Hey there and welcome to the Knit Show. I'm Vickie Howell. Today we are focused on all that is global in the knitting and crochet world. That means yarns, community, techniques, and more. First up in the studio, we'll have my friend, owner of Knit Collage, Amy Small. And she's going to be talking to us about this great project, but also her yarns that are made in conjunction with a co-op in India. From there, we're going to move over to Central Asia to see shepherds and their cashmere goats. Then we'll be back in the studio with my friend, guest Paula Peirera, who's here all the way from Brazil, and she's going to show us how to make a sweater. But first up, we are going to meet today's Knit Hive. Hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We have a gentleman. I'm so excited. It's a big day here on the Knit Show. Big day. So, Julia.
Yes.
So lovely to have you here. So you're crocheting, and I love that you bring that. Do you knit and crochet?
I mostly knit. Crochet is kind of hard on my hands, but this is a project for a grandson who designed it and asked me to do it, and it just seemed like a better thing to do in crochet.
So I've heard that you actually don't use patterns at all.
Most of the time, no.
Because you were making things for your grandchildren or making things for kids, and they were like not into it. So you found a solution.
Yes, I have them make a picture. In fact, this one is. He didn't color it. Normally they color the picture in, but this is a 6-year-old's picture of Elmer the patchwork elephant, and so he drew that, and then we went on the internet and found a picture. And I am making it happen. This is the starting part of Elmer the patchwork elephant, and it's...
So is it going to be a toy? Is it going to be a sweater? Do we not know until it's done?
No, we know. It's going to be a blanket. This is going to go on a blanket. He's chosen the background fabric, which is part of my belly dancing fabric. It's black on the back, and the front is silver holographic stuff, and this is going to go on top of it.
You are so fun.
It's going to be a very strange blanket.
You know what's awesome about that, though, is that, I mean, there's many things, but he's always going to remember this experience, and you're actually making a piece of his history.
Yes.
I love it. It's a collaboration. Well, thank you so much for being here. And Ken, so great to have you here. What drew you to knitting, to wanting to learn how to knit?
Well, it's something I wanted to learn for a long time, but I didn't know anybody who knitted or crocheted, so I never got into it. And then I started getting like cramps or stuff in my hands, and I figured it would be good therapy, and it sort of is. And then I got hooked on it, and I just kept on doing it.
You said you didn't know any other knitters or crocheters. Do you now have a community at all?
Well, yes, we got a small group there I'm in Killeen, and a small group up there, but as you know, in the area from Georgetown to pretty much Dallas, there is nothing, but I go to my local yarn shop in Georgetown there, and
That's still a little bit of a hike.
Yeah, but you got to do what you got to do. But there's a lot of great people there that knit, and they're always willing to help, and that helps, you know. I mean, if I was up by myself, I may have quit a long time ago, but they always help you out and keep you going and show new patterns that you got to do.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to give you a few more that you're going to have to do today, I promise you. Diane.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're making something right now. You told me before we got started that you're making the pumpkin hat, but you knit for children, or you teach children how to knit for themselves as well.
And ironically, we both live in the same area, but today is the first Ken and I have met.
Oh, that's so interesting. Girl, I'm coming in. You have a hair right here, and we are a community.
Okay.
There we go.
But we live in different knitting communities.
So you just met here on the Knit Show? Bringing people together. That's what we're doing.
But I had started out teaching at church, and I thought it would be for adults. But in the end, it has been for children.
And do they get excited about projects and then move and then want to try something more? Or they just produce the same thing again and again?
It's a whole knit group deal. Originally, it's, the dishcloth thing. Then we're doing dolls and such. So
you're creating community for them as well.
Yes, it is our little knit group community.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, maybe you three will be a little knit group for a bit while I go and meet our first guest. Sound good?
Yes.
Good.
Okay. My first guest in the studio today is my friend and owner of Knit Collage and also the host of the Collage Creative podcast, Amy Small. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Vickie.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. Your yarns are so unique and eye-catching, and they're actually made through a co-op in India, correct? But a lot of times when people think about sourcing stuff from India, there's a lot of sort of negative connotation to it because of conditions and that kind of thing. And this is something you're actually passionate about fighting against, correct?
Yeah, totally. So I have 13 ladies that work for us and make the yarn all from hand. So in this technique that I taught and trained them. So they have a rich history of spinning yarn there, but not in the crazy way that we do it. So I taught them how to do that. And now they've been working for me for 6 years. So 13 ladies, the same 13.
Women.
Yeah, so it's really amazing.
What's the difference in spinning? I mean, I know we don't have a wheel to show you, but is it just is it a completely different technique? Is it different equipment?
Yes, it is. So the way that Gandhi did it, is with his toe in his hand and a spinning wheel, and it's pretty wild. It's on the ground. And then what we do is what you see probably all modern spinners do on a double treadle spinning wheel. So that's what we do, and we spin all these things into the yarn, which you can't do if you're doing it Gandhi's way. So I tried that when I was starting my business, and it failed. It wasn't
going to work. You tried to keep it real, and you're like,
it wasn't going to work
Yeah.
with what I wanted to achieve. So we just built it and created ourselves, and brought them the wheels, brought them the carders, and now they make it all there. So it's this really cool cottage industry that we've created there.
That didn't exist before, because you were telling me earlier before we got started that women aren't necessarily all that hireable in India.
Yeah, one thing I ran into a lot when I used to design sweaters for free people was that women were not hired in sweater factories because they were viewed as undependable because of the children, that they might miss a ton of work. So that's something we really pride ourselves on, is having these awesome women that work for us.
Women.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. So let's talk about what makes your yarn special, because you absolutely know that it's a knit collage yarn if you see it on a shelf without even seeing a label, especially these two that we have in the front here. Will you tell us about them?
Yeah, so this is our Rolling Stone yarn, and it's one of the first ones that I ever started out with, and it has all of these things spun into it. So you'll see these tiny little paisley trinkets, I call them.
Yeah, trinkets.
But these are made in a traditional Indian way on these mesh embroidery tables. So it's really cool. So most of the trims you see in our yarns are actually made by the women that we work with too. So even these these are knitted fringe trims. We make all of those. There are braided trims.
That's a huge process.
Yeah, we use recycled sari silk, and the rest is wool, sparkly Angelina fiber. So only things you can do when you make something by hand.
Is there, so do you have to send some kind of prototype, or are you spinning these first and then sending them over there?
Exactly. Yeah, so I design the first one of everything, and that takes me a long time to figure out, and I come up with a recipe. And then I send them the recipe. It's just like an Excel file. It's not that fancy.
Yeah.
And then they make a first proto, they send it back to me, or they send me photos, and then we tweak it from there. And then if I want to show them a new technique, I usually just make a video. And then, because the internet, it's amazing.
The internet. And this one to me, just I look at it and I think about India, the textiles, the print work.
Yeah, so this is a cotton voile fabric. It's super loosely woven and lightweight, and it's all printed in the traditional Indian prints. So I love just kind of embracing that and bringing it back to their culture and mixing the new and the old together.
Yes,
So.
it's gorgeous. And we're actually going to be applying some of your beautiful yarns to a really great chunky showpiece, the scarf up here.
Yeah, so this is the Stripe Story scarf. You can knit it with basically any of our yarns. So really anything goes here. It might be a little wider or skinnier, but it's all gonna be good. And what's so cool is that you make this really pretty vertical stripe pattern. It looks really complicated, but it's actually just a slip stitch and super easy to knit.
Well, why don't we show how to make that pattern happen?
Yes, let's dive in. So the first 2 rows of the pattern are just casting on and knitting a 1x1 rib. So I've already done that. It'll all be written in the pattern that's gonna come with the show. And you are gonna take your second yarn. So you're knitting this with 2 yarns. I've cast on in the spun cloud yarn, that's A, and then With the pixie dust yarn, which is B, you're gonna slip the first stitch, then knit the second, and you're slipping them all knitwise. And you're gonna need to do this on a size 35, which is my kind of knitting.
Super speedy and fun. All right, and the pattern for this project and every project from today's episode will be on theknitshow.com.
Awesome. So once I get to that last stitch, I'm going to wrap the pixie dust yarn around my needle one more time and bring it to the front, and then slip the spun cloud with the pixie dust yarn in front. And then I flip it, and I'm gonna do my purl row.
What does the wrapping do? What's the purpose of that?
So the good thing about this is on your third row, you're gonna knit these 2 stitches together, and that's gonna create a clean edge. So important.
Oh, so you don't get the weirdness, because sometimes with slipping stitches, you get it kind of.
Yes, you're
Does
gonna
the
get
sort of-
a nice border of the gray stitch on either side, so the gray yarn on either side,
That's
so
a
it makes
great
it
little-
look even. And
Great little trick.
yeah, it's good. So let's see, there's a little bit of a tangle, of course. All right,
When
so
you're working with yarn and cords, tangles won't happen. All we need is a cat now and call it a day.
exactly. All right, so you're going to slip the first 2 stitches, so the spun cloud yarn and then that wrapped stitch, and then you're just going to purl every single time you see the pixie dust
So
yarn.
on the purl side, you're slipping purlwise, and on the knit side, you're slipping knitwise.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So you're just going to slip the spun cloud yarn as you get to it across the whole row. And it is as simple as that. And slip that last stitch.
And slip the last stitch.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Although I trade
So-
you.
Yes, so we
And the next
are-
step,
The next step, so you've just finished that pixie dust purl row, and you're going to start with the spun cloud yarn again. So from where you left off. So what you'll do is you're just going to, kind of in the same way you did the pixie dust, you're going to knit the spun cloud stitches and slip the pixie dust stitches with the yarn in back.
so exactly the same method, but just work all the way back.
Exactly the same.
So easy, so cool. It looks a lot harder than it is,
Yes.
which I love.
Yes.
And definitely a head-turning piece. Thank you so much, Amy. I'm a
Totally.
huge fan of your stuff. Thank you so much for being here. You can get this pattern in theknitshow.com. We are now going to head over to Central Asia to see some shepherds in Kyrgyzstan. Do you ever wonder where your fiber comes from? Come with us on a journey to the center of the world to find the source of some unique cashmere yarn. The Central Asian Republic of Kyrgyzstan is a small country, smaller than South Dakota, that is farther away from an ocean than any other place on Earth. Landlocked and mountainous, its rugged terrain borders Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and China. And the fabled Silk Road winds its way through the south of the country. Its isolated location and challenging conditions have actually helped preserve many of the ancient crafts and traditions that are still practiced today. These include felt making, both decorative and functional, weaving and falconry, in addition to yurt making. Semi-nomadic shepherds tend flocks of goats and sheep, staying in small, isolated villages during the brutal winter months, and transporting and setting up their yurts to lush summer pastures in the spring where their animals graze the hills all summer. It's during the winter that they embroider, spin wool, camel, yak, and cashmere into yarn, and weave the rugs and colorful decorative bands they use to hold the structure of the yurts together. Felt making is done mostly in the spring, when the sheep are shorn and the finished felt pieces can be hung outside to dry. Kyrgyz villagers maintain a lifestyle that is similar to how their ancestors lived for centuries, except for the ubiquitous cell phone that has made communications so much easier. The isolation imposed by such remote locations, challenging roads, and harsh terrain and weather conditions has bred a culture of extreme hospitality. Guests are welcome into the homes, rich and poor, and offered food and drink, sometimes simple and sometimes lavish. There's always tea and bread, and often much more. Whether it's homemade jam, yak meat, or fermented mare's milk, it's not polite to refuse to partake. What makes Kyrgyz cashmere unique? Ironically, soft, luxurious cashmere comes from the harshest places. Extreme cold encourages the growth of long, thick coats. The remoteness of Kyrgyz villages and pastures and their isolation from Soviet-era mixed breeding has preserved the native goat, the jadari, leading to the potential to produce high-quality, pure cashmere. The cashmere that goes into June Cashmere is combed, not shorn. It is sorted right at the source and then sent to Europe for dehairing, a process that separates the coarse hairs from the fine cashmere down, and to England for spinning, and then to Maine to be dyed and wound into skeins. There are few places left on this earth where day-to-day life is so simple and close to the earth, and where the source of the fiber is so traceable and is so connected to survival. Kyrgyzstan is one of them. We are back in our studio with a really dear friend of mine, Paula Peirera, who is here all the way from Brazil. Thank you so much for being here, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so thrilled to have you here. I can't believe that you were willing to jump on a plane and be here. What is knitting a thing? Not is it a thing, but is it popular in Brazil like it is here in the States?
Well, it is. Brazil is huge, right? It's a big country, and once we have online things like social media and stuff, then we can see there's so many people interested in knitting in Brazil, from the south to the north, northeast. Of course, some parts of Brazil are really warm, and most of the people start with crochet.
I was going to ask, because I think of like crochet bikinis when I think of Brazil or whatever.
It's true.
Yeah.
And because of the Portuguese influence, I guess. But there's so many people interested in knitting and in learn, and there's tons of groups. There's people that do, workshops like a mini Vogue knitting, let's put this way.
Oh, mini Vogue knitting, like our big conferences? Oh, really?
Yes, it's true. Those brave women, in my opinion, they're really brave. They organized this in Curitiba and in Porto Alegre. Yeah, on the south.
Oh, that would be so fun to go to.
It is really fun. And there's lots of people. I go there every year to teach classes.
But I actually met you in the States, and you do a lot of designing for American publications. How did that come to be?
Wow, this was like a career. It became a career for me. So I came from marketing, business, all this stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll be a yoga teacher. Then on my way, there was a knitting store. Then I started to have classes. And I don't know, I felt there was something that, really moves me. I really like it. And I say, you know what, let's see how it goes. And I give myself a few years. Then I went to Vogue Knitting, the first one, and all the other ones. And I have contact with, other, knitters and famous designers. And I say, maybe, and I start to design and launch my things. And I say, I'll try to do this like a professional thing. And it's happening. I'm happy.
It's happening. It's more than happening. You've designed for Knitty. You've designed for Pom Pom Magazine, Pom Pom Quarterly, and for us. So let's talk about what you've actually designed for us, which is this great anybody can wear it sweater.
Exactly. It's a boxy sweater. I think it's pretty popular and fits great in, any body type or people. So it's pretty comfortable and easy to knit. We start from the hems. So we start knitting the back hem and the front hem, then we join them. Then we knit until the underarms, and then we separate and we have a pretty easy shaping.
Yeah, and
it's
one of the reasons that you decided to go simple on this is because we're using this beautiful Malabrigo yarn.
Oh, it's
They're a company
true.
from Uruguay. And when you've got a yarn, the color striations that are like this one, you don't need to go complicated with the stitch. You really just want to let the yarn shine. And this is also, that also makes it a great project for beginners or really any level, because it's a simple sweater, but you've put some really beautiful design elements, and that's really what we're going to focus on, are these really sweet items. So you made up a tiny version
yes, this
to
is
sort of explain this a little bit.
our baby version. So like I said, we start from the hems. We start knitting.
And the hems are, let's show them this.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's a high-low hem, which is just a really subtle detail that makes it different.
It's so comfortable and beautiful. So we start to knitting the back hem, then we go to the front. We join them, and there's a small detail, maybe you can see here, when we join them, we create like it's almost like a cable or a curved I-cord or something to prevent any leathers here on the side. So it's pretty cute and something that can be interesting for the more experienced knitters, I guess.
Yeah, so really simple. So we're gonna follow up. We're gonna really just focus on these tiny differences that make it so professional looking. All right, so you've started, and we're working on smaller pieces just because it's a lot of fabric on camera to work on large sweaters. So this is going to look a little smaller than it would if you were making a human-sized sweater, or at least an adult human-sized sweater. Okay, so let's get you set up. So what are we looking at first?
So now, there's something simple that you can use, in tons of different things. We are making here, as you can see, like a nice finishing, an I-cord. So we can see here at the beginning and at the end.
So there's some I-cord detailing at the open portions, the slit side, and that's what we're working on now. And she's worked this in a kind of a playful rib, a 1x1, and it looks like maybe a 2x2 and 1x1. And the instructions for all of this will, of course, be on thenitshow.com. All right, so you just basically worked all the way straight to the opposite end, and that's where we are now.
Exactly. So now to create this I-cord finishing, just slip the last 2 stitches, always.
Always slip the last 2. Okay, so that makes that lovely little detail at the band.
Exactly.
So now we're going to talk joining in and then around.
Perfect. So now we are joining the front and the back hem. So we are going to do something, nice and cute to create a circular I-cord here, or a curved I-cord. So we need a cable needle. So we are going to slip these 2 stitches that we are just slipped. We'll place them on a cable needle right here. You can remove the markers. And then we place this cable needle parallel with the needle that have the back hem stitches, right? Like this. So now we are going to, now we are going to knit 1 stitch from each needle. So it's like a decrease. We're going to knit this stitch from the back hem needle and 1 stitch from the cable needle. So we are going to knit them together. 1. And then we are going to do the same thing. We can remove this marker and we start to knit from here. I just knit a couple of stitches so you can see the effect. And this is
that
what
gives
we
that
have.
beautiful sort of curve. I'll show it in mini version here. So you can see that beautiful curve, so professional and unexpected.
It's true, and avoids, leather. As we use a garment, sometimes, this stretches. So as you can see...
So you get the ladder from the fabric stretching,
So
yes.
look how it's cute, and at the same time prevents, damage your garments or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so from there, it's completely seamless. I just love it. We should just also note that the sleeves are simply worked by picking up stitches around and working them all together. So again, seamless, which I love because finishing, not my favorite thing. The entire pattern with all of the instructions for this and a bunch of other linky goodness for Miss Paula will be on thenitshow.com. And up next, I show you a tip using tips of my toes. So we've been spending time today really focused on our global community, which means we've seen yarns and different parts of the world and even people that have traveled from far to be here. And so I thought that it would be really fun to also learn a technique that was unique to another part of the world that's not here. So our friends over at Knitter's Pride or Knit Pro, depending on where you are, they sent over a technique for casting on that is really unique to India. So I thought I would show it. And there is a reason that I am sitting here with my feet up and no shoes on, and that's because they actually use their feet to control tension as they're casting on. So for this method, you're just going to take your yarn and you're going to fold it in half so it's doubled. Now the length will depend on how many stitches you're casting on, just as it would if you were using, say, like a long tail cast on. You fold it in half, and then you're going to move down towards the end where the tail is, and you're going to make just a plain old slip knot. Okay, once you've done that, you're going to grab your needle, slip it on, and pull until it's firmly on there, but there's still room to slide it back and forth. All right, here's where our feet come in. So you're going to take the working yarn, which is the yarn that's attached to the ball, and you're gonna wrap it around your big toe. And you can play with this a little bit to see what you want is you want this to be taut, but you also want it to be at a place where that you can really work with it. So this is too long for me. So I'm gonna just pull on this loop a little bit and get it situated. And I think that's pretty good. So then we're gonna take the tails that are doubled and we're gonna wrap it around our thumb and our pointer finger. Then you'll find that you have your little pinchers ready. So you're gonna go in and take the taut yarn and grab that single strand. So you'll see right here that you've got your loop that will be your new stitch, and you're just gonna place that loop on the needle. And then you pull the double tail to make it tight. And you're just gonna repeat this whole process until you have as many stitches as are called for in the pattern or that your heart desires. And for now, because I want to show you how to knit, I'll go ahead and stop, but you could go potentially to, until you had a nice tail. From here, you can take it off your toe. You don't need the tension anymore, and you could just knit normally. So I'm knitting all of the stitches just as I normally would. And the reason that you would use this cast on is because it's doubled at the bottom, so it would be really firm. So it's gonna leave a nice edging that's not gonna be inconsistent. But you wouldn't wanna use it if you were making socks or mittens or anything that needs to have any give. So you're gonna knit all the way to the end until you notice that your slip knot is actually doubled because it was made with that double strand. And you wanna make sure to knit those two stitches together as if they were one so that you're not increasing. From here, everything's as normal. You'll notice that all of your stitches are loaded as normal, as they normally would be, and that you only have single loops on the needle. And that's really all there is to it. Super fun, a little weird, which I love, and interesting. All right, well, that does it for our trip around the world. Thank you for joining us on the journey. Thank you, as always, to my Knit Hive. And I hope that you enjoyed it and that you're going to want to come back because our next episode is all about color. We are going to have Koigu's Tayulandra. We're also going to have the super hot and amazing designer, Andrea Mowry, and a bunch of other really great garments for you. Until then, please make sure to take a little time to be creative. Breathe in, knit out.